So, Clemens, we have some numbers coming in here, some negative readings when it comes, especially, as you say, to the energy-intensive industries. Last month, you said there were no observable signs of a recession. Given these most latest figures, has that changed in your mind?
I think the likelihood of a recession is clearly increasing. There's a lot of pessimism about the gas situation. A month ago, the risk seemed smaller that Russia will cut off gas supplies. Now, gas supplies have been reduced. Nobody knows whether that's permanent or whether that will go down to zero, but the risk is rising, and that's why the energy-intensive sectors are worried. Energy prices are rising, and that also has an impact on the rest of the economy. For instance, in retail, companies seem to fear that as consumers spend more on gas, on heating, they will spend less on clothing and other things they buy. So the overall picture is rather gloomy.
Rather gloomy. So the odds of a recession are increasing, but are they beyond likely? Is it beyond 50%? How prepared do you think we need to be for that level of downturn?
Well, I think we need to see the timing. I think there are a few dangers of a recession this year because the gas shortage will have a strong impact in the winter. Now we are out of the heating season, so we're still okay. But if Russia does reduce gas supplies further, what our forecasts say is we will get a recession, but in 2023, not before that. There's also some support for the economy coming from the sectors affected by the corona pandemic, like hotels, restaurants. So I think for this year we are safe, but depending on gas supplies, there may be a recession next year, and the likelihood currently certainly rises.
Well, Economy Minister Habeck yesterday said that after he raised, we're looking at a full screen of this now, raising the gas plan to stage 2 of alarm, that the risk of a collapse in the energy sector is there should the flow get disrupted more. He called it on a Lehman-like level. Is the risk that acute? Do you foresee a Lehman-like event in terms of the energy complex?
This warning is strong, but I think to some extent justified, because we need to see that if energy prices rise very strongly, one issue is, can the energy companies pass this on to the consumers? So the government has legislation that would allow that. But we need to be prepared. If the gas prices are passed on to the consumers, this will have a very strong impact on them, and that is a risk. But if we don't do anything, it may very well be that some energy companies collapse because their costs are rising and their revenues aren't. So it's a serious situation. We need to prepare for that, meaning we need to make sure that there are gas savings now. And that in turn does require higher prices for consumers, for manufacturing, so that they get the right market signals and reduce their prices.
You've started to see that concern ripple through businesses, be it in your latest Ifo survey, be it just in some of the action of corporates, BASF cutting their production, BMW looking to buy electricity from third-party services instead of their own gas-powered plants. Concerns of a pullback in investment, is there that concern, and could it lead to long-term scarring in the German economy?
Yes, I think there is the risk, mainly because we have this very high uncertainty about what's going on, about in particular the gas supply situation. And the rising uncertainty means that doing nothing, waiting, stopping investment projects and waiting to see how these things develop gets more valuable. So that's what companies will do. They will reduce their investments and wait how this continues. So as I said, this may add to the risks of a recession next year. I don't think it's going to have a very strong impact now, because investment is held back anyway by bottlenecks. Well,
Clemens, does that mean we're not at the point, or are we at the point where we should start to see gas rationing taking place? Are we there yet?
I don't think we are there yet, and we might not get gas rationing at all, but an auctioning system, which is being prepared. And that means if companies are ready to pay very, very high prices, they will probably not be rationed. But in terms of economic impact, it's very similar to rationing, because if gas costs are too high, some companies will just be forced out of the market.